Hey guys, welcome back to another video I'm going to do for you where I discuss a single brand. I've been doing a lot more of these recently just because I've had a lot of multiple brands in. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about Christopher Ward watches, specifically the C60 range or the Trident Pro range, of which I have three here today. They are basically three different generations of that model. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to discuss really that kind of evolution of the model through the earlier generation, mid, and this latest model, which is brand new over here on the right. I want to show you through some of the features and the aesthetics and the build on all three generations and explain why I'm a big fan of these watches. Specifically, these two are actually keepers in my watch box, so that should say something to the quality of the watches for sure. So first things first, let's kind of go back in time and we'll deal with the earlier model. This particular one is the Trident Pro Vintage, so it has that kind of vintage style of color on the markers, so that kind of beige, sandy kind of color. This one has a ceramic bezel in matte finish, which is just gorgeous. Very unusual, of course, that you find a ceramic matte bezel. Quite often, brands will put in aluminium bezels because of that, and it's that kind of matte finish. But Christopher Ward is a brand that really don't skimp on quality. So throughout all these watches, they have the top quality materials that you would expect of a $700, $800, $900 watch. Ceramic bezels, high beat movements between SW 200s, the Solitas, ETA movements, and so on. Sapphire crystals across the board. Really lovely stainless steel. Materials are just exquisite across all three of these watches, so I can certainly put that out there up front. You can see there just that lovely matte ceramic, the kind of sheen that comes off it. Really high grade matte ceramic bezel insert there. Big kudos to Christopher Ward for that. Then as we go around the side profile, you have these kind of quite plain side profiles on the earlier models, but this kind of curved lug that really kind of wraps around the wrist in a very nice way, specifically and especially on the stainless steel band models. This particular one comes on this thick silicone with like a carbon fiber texture to it. It's all right. It's a very high quality silicone style band, but I'm just not a big fan of silicone in general. But it is thick, it's good quality. It has the kind of design, with the lines coming down here. You've got, of course, the kind of carbon fiber thing going through the bands there, and then a very nice quality clasp at the end. It's just not my preferred material for this kind of watch, but it's very high quality as always. Again, on the other side then, quite a plain case profile. And then as we go around the back, we have the Trident case back, which is pretty similar across all the models that I'm going to show you today. All right, so that's the first one. One of the differences to point out between this and the next model I'll show you, which is the blue behind me here, or behind here, is that this particular one uses the old Christopher Ward logo. I'll just let you see it a little bit better. Again, all of these have screw down crowns, so that kind of higher quality kind of feel. So there's the old logo, which you can see here. So quite a traditional font style on that. I will say this, a lot of people prefer the old logo to the newer one, which I'll show you in just a second. I'm kind of on the fence. I like both logos. I probably prefer the font on this particular one, but then the little icon logo that I'll show you on the other models I actually really like. But then the font for the Christopher Ward element is much more modern and very plain on the new ones. So that's just something to point out at the outset. So then the following generation is this one we have here. So what they did with this generation was keep most of the kind of aesthetics very, very similar. Same bezel insert thickness. You can see the lume markers on the bezel are pretty much identical across these. The 12 marker as well, identical. The side profile on the case, identical. The one difference is the crown stamp being the old logo versus the little icon logo you can see here. And then the same for the other side. So quite a plain side profile, but very nicely rounded lugs. Makes it very comfortable to wear these watches, again, specifically on the stainless steel band. The markers on the dials are pretty much identical. The hand kits, pretty much identical, if not completely identical. What you will see on all of these models is that distinguishing Trident second hand counterbalance there. Really, really nice. They always have lovely long second hands on these that go right to the edge of the dial, which I think is brilliant. Just looks really good. And then that's kind of the end of the similarities. Most of the things in this are the same. The two different things, aside from the crown stamp, is that they introduced this wave dial on the mid-generation models, which they have since done away with. But they had the wave dial on this. And then, of course, that new logo there, which sits to the left of the dial. So again, I've heard people complain about that. Oh, it's not centered. And, you know, like the old logo is right up there in the center, like most brands would do. And this is kind of off to the side. I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's balanced fine. And from a design perspective, it looks okay. That's not to say that the font on the logo is really anything to write home about. It just seems very, very straight-laced and very plain. Just a little bit more modern though than that traditional one. And yeah, aside from that, pretty much identical watches. Oh, case back as well. Let's see, hopefully, if it will focus. Pretty much identical. The difference is this one says Christopher Ward on it, and it's just Trident Pro 600. This one just says Trident Pro 600 meter ceramic, and that's pretty much the difference. So that's the older one. Then this one, of course, has the stainless steel band, which I love. Great band. One of the things that I really like about Christopher Ward's is, like I mentioned, the lug profile, and it kind of curves round, but especially on the stainless steel, these things, the stainless steel band just kind of falls around the wrist. Just very, very comfortable, very well designed, and a real testament to the watch designer that, you know, thought this through, because it fits the wrist just beautifully. On this particular stainless steel band, then we have a mixture of brushed and polished. Brushed on the outside of the links, the center ones are polished, which I do like. I like that kind of finish on this particular watch. And then the clasp, which is one of the big selling points on these new models. The clasp with that icon stamp there, very nice, finely brushed stainless steel. Very simple release mechanism here, Christopher Ward. And then on the inside, we have the micro adjustment element. So this little button here kind of pushes back, and then you can adjust the band to fit your wrist. So a very well thought through, well designed micro adjustment on this. No complaints there. Do a quick wrist check actually. You see what I mean? Now this is the larger 43 mil model, which they have since reverted and gone back to 42. They do a 38, 40, 42. But this one is the 43, the blue. Probably pushing, again, the boundaries of what my wrist can take. But I love the watch, love the lug design. You'll see they don't overhang at either end. You've kind of got the standard 22 mil band here. Lug length, I'm not sure of. I assume it's about maybe 49, but it fits on my 6 and a bit inch wrist absolutely fine. And I think just that lug design where it sweeps down, it kind of just perfectly follows the angle of the wrist, as you can see. Very, very comfortable, and just looks absolutely spot on. So compared the mid-generation to the old one, you saw that they're pretty much the same watch except for the logo change, the crown stamp, and then the wave dial versus the plain matte dial. Now, so not that many changes in between the models there, but actually quite a large evolution between this mid model and the new one. Now, they use a lot of the same design cues, so you notice the kind of straight long indices on the dial, very similar. But really, aside from that, and the logo, of course, everything has changed. And it's quite a jump. It's quite a divergent sort of design change, a shift in direction that they're going. I love both. But you'll notice, even from the front, a lot of the differences come into play. So for instance, the hand kit, instead of using that sort of more traditional style hand kit with the kind of candle R marker, or R hand, they use this much sharper, straight-laced, and more modern and edgy kind of hand kit. Now the second hand is the same, but the R's in the minutes are different, as you can see. The markers then on the dial are very different, even though the style is similar in the kind of long shape of them. But these, on the new one, they have introduced these multifaceted polished outlines. So you see when the light glints on them, you just get that, you know, little added angle. Whereas on the originals, it's just flat all the way around. So that's one thing I do think is a genuine upgrade, those little kind of details. And the same is true on the hand and R kit as well. The other thing that's different then is the bezel insert. You'll notice the one on the slightly older model is significantly wider. It's a thicker bezel insert compared to the new model. I kind of prefer the thicker. I kind of wish that they had this a little bit thicker, because the ceramic on that on the bezel is just out of this world. It's beautiful, lovely reflective ceramic, absolutely brilliant. And then they've done away as well with the wave dial. So whereas the blue had the wave dial with the logo over to the left, the white has done away with the wave dial, and they've also introduced the little Chris Ward icon in the center here with the Christopher Ward over to the left. So again, very stylistically consistent, but very different, and a big change between these two models. Now, the biggest change comes next. So when we turn for the side profile, remember this was very similar to the previous generation, and we'll just see the new one. Very, very different. Now, the crown stamp is the same. They've carried that curvature of the lugs across, but the actual profiling on this is just stunning. All the little angles that they've created on this side profile, I think, is a massive upgrade, and definitely a huge improvement from the kind of straight-laced one we saw on these two earlier models. I just think that the bevel approach here is just stunning around the top and the bottom, makes it look so much thinner and kind of sleek. That curve as well, even though it is the same style of curve, it fits the wrist even better than the previous model. Now, the other difference is this is a 42. They changed back. They started doing 43s over here, and now they're doing 42. So you do 38, 40, and 42 in the C60s now. But just look at that curve, and with the bevel around the side of the edge of the lug there, it's just absolutely stunning. That's one of my favorite features on this new model. The other things then that are different, the stainless steel band has been updated. So no longer do we have the brushed and polished finishes. We have just pure brushed. Also, the links are different. A lot wider, the central link in the new model versus the previous generation. Height is very, very similar, as you can see. And then we move around to the clasp, which is pretty much identical in terms of the mechanism, but some of the aesthetics are a little bit different. So we have these lines down the side of the new model, which carry up into the center links of the band. Also then the push release, instead of being a circular push release, we've got this kind of curved rectangular release. But then everything else is the same. We have the Christopher Ward on the inside. We've got the micro adjustments on the back side of this. Just a fantastic clasp on both models. Pretty much identical, just a few small upgrades and tweaks to that approach. But overall, you can probably see and hear that I'm pretty taken with these watches. I just think the materials are top grade. We have high beat movements, the ceramic, sapphire crystals, the build quality. The biggest jump though to me is that case design. I just think this is so unique, so wonderful, so unique to this Christopher Ward brand. And it just really sets them apart as a watchmaker. I believe just that design it's inspired to me, because it just perfectly matches the curvature of the wrist, and it just takes it to the next level from the previous one, which was already excellent. But I love both of them. I love all of them. But I just love this new one in terms of that case design. I just think, you know, the polished surfaces there around where the crown guard is, and then over into the lug. I just think it's fantastic. So those are the 3 models I have of the C60 Trident Pros. Do let me know if you have any questions or queries, or you know, want some advice on the models or the brand or anything like that. These particular models will run you about $800-900. Just depends on whether you're buying new or direct from Christopher Ward or not. But to me, the quality is absolutely there. You know, like I said, all the materials are there, the design, the aesthetics, just phenomenal watches. And I urge you, if you haven't already and you're on the fence, I urge you to give Christopher Ward a shot. One of my favorite micro brands. Really, in terms of uniqueness, I would say I would probably put these at the top in terms of micro brands. You know, I love Steinhardt's and some other brands, but these are just so unique, and they have such a unique take with the design of the case and the bezel, and the band and the clasp. It's really fantastic. So guys, make sure you like that video for me, and ask any questions you have. I'll do a couple of Lume shots now. You can see how those look, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and I can keep you posted as I release new stuff on the channel. Meantime, thanks for watching. Hope you're having an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. All right, guys, there's the Lume shot. So from left to right, we have the vintage, the blue, and then the new white model. So you'll see the first 2 are identical pretty much, but then of course with the differences in hand style and the fact that the bezel now, all the bezel markers are loomed, I think makes a big difference on the new model. Just looks wonderful there. Whereas the other 2 look fantastic, but they don't have that approach on the bezel insert itself being loomed. So yeah, hopefully that was of help. Beautiful watches. See you in the next one.